Let's talk about sculpting a painting. First, you have to figure out your layout. This is going to be a triptych. The middle panel is 24 by 24 and the outer panels are 12 by 24. None of these canvases actually made the cut, but the dog did with his ball. First, I needed to figure out a color scheme. This is for a client, so I knew the palette they wanted, and I did 3 different values of some of the colors that they had chose. I want this painting to have a lot of texture and depth, so I start off with a paint throw. Next, I'm using some molding paste. I want to give it even more depth and texture here. And these are like the long leaves and stems that are going in this picture. The colors you see there in the background, those really aren't going to be part of this painting at all at this point. All they are texture. They're just leftover paints and stuff that I've saved for this process because I know they're going to be painted over a few different times. This next step, I guess you could call it a second underpainting. You won't see a whole lot of it. I'll be dry brushing over the top of it and doing some scratch throughs, so you'll see it at those points, but a lot of this is going to be covered up also. I'm really just trying to cover up the color of the paint throw back there and give a nice deep rich color to my background. Well, you can see we fast forward a little bit here. I have all of that purple down in the background. Then I put some orange over the top of those tall stems and things. And then there is Prussian blue over that orange. It's kind of hard to see here, but in a little bit you'll see. After I put that Prussian blue over that orange, I scratched through it, and that's going to show through. Then I put the sky in, and you can see some of the clouds. There's going to be some scratch through on that sky too. So you're going to see some of that purple and the orange scratch through the painting. Here's a close-up of the scratch through. You can see the orange through that Prussian blue. Then you'll be able to start seeing the purple through the sky. You can also really see that paint throw, the texture of it, underneath of that paint. Now we're going into the tall grasses. I've got some really bright green going here. Actually, there's 2 colors of green there. I'm going over top of that Prussian blue. I want some of the Prussian blue to show, so that'll give it a little bit of depth of field. That darker blue will set back behind that really bright green. And then the even brighter green is more of a highlight. Later on, I'm going to be going back through this because I just felt like it needed one more value in there. And I'll mention that when we can see it. Now I've picked up that middle value green and I'm starting to get some of that in there. That's making it not as bright as it was. Okay, here we go. Flower time. I'm going to let you listen to a little bit of music and watch some painting. Let's talk about some of the tools I use. First thing, my expensive palette. Obviously, all they are styrofoam plates. I just find this the easiest to mix on. I can throw them away. The paint dries so fast. Next are scraping tools. The top one there is just a stylus. It's got some different size metal balls on the end that I use to scrape through the paint. And then the bottom one is from Faber Castel, and you can see the wavy line on the one side and more of triangular. And then the other side, I can get a whole bunch of different scrapes at one time with one passage there with that one. You could use a fork. You could use just about anything to scrape through paint. Now some brushes. This is a number 16 and a number 20. The brand is Master's Touch. I don't use great brushes, but they're also not, kids' brushes either. I use several different sizes of metal palette knives. These are also a Master's Touch brand, I'm pretty sure. Next are the two mediums that I use to get a lot of the texture, the matte gel and the molding paste. The molding paste is what I used at the beginning for the tall leaves and stems there. That's going to give you a lot of thick texture, but it also, if you're going to mix it with paint, it's going to make your paint turn pastel color. You won't have a true color. That's why I have the matte gel. The matte gel I can mix in with my paint if I'd like, if I would want to get those thick flowers that I'm doing, but I don't have a thick paint. I can mix that paint with that matte gel and it won't affect the color of my paint like the molding paste will. For the paint I use Liquitex Basic and Thick Body Acrylic Paint by Master's Touch. If I'm using the Liquitex Basic, if I want it thicker, I'm going to put that matte gel in it, and that won't affect the color. I can also put the molding paste in it and get a pastel color. This is definitely not a must-have, but it sure is fun. This is how I clean my brushes out. It's a paint puck. So the container, it's just a water container paint puck. And then you have the two little ones. You can put the little ones in a jar or any water container that you're using to clean out your brushes. They've got little nubby things on the top of them to help scrub the brushes out. There's a suction cup on the little discs, so they'll stick down into the bottom of your jar or whatever you're using. And then the paint bucket you can put your brushes, kind of sit your brushes in there so they're not all the way down in the water, or you can flip them upward so the bristles aren't in the water at all, because they really shouldn't be in the water for that long. So now we have a little behind the scenes, or maybe I should say under the scenes. This is Jax's debut. You saw him there in the beginning helping me figure out the layout. He pretty much will stays under my feet and plays most of the time I'm painting. I am positive that someday I am going to trip over him and land face first in my painting. He might not look like it, but he's still a puppy. He's only 10 months old. He weighs 81 pounds already. He's a yellow lab. Here you can see just how thick that paint is beginning to get. Now for some critters. These butterflies, first I put down some white paint. I want to get a really nice bright color. That's some yellow and some oranges. But if I put that yellow and orange over that blue, they're going to be just a little bit dull. And I want them to be nice and bright. So put some white down first. And I'm really thinking about my brush strokes whenever I put the paint down. All my paint is so thick, and I want to make sure that I'm kind of getting it in the direction that I want for the butterflies. Next, I use this Copic marker. It's a water brush, actually, and it's black. And I can just get that fine detail so much better with this water brush than I can with just regular brush and paint. Now for some detail. All I need are some little white dots. I'll go in and paint all these little white dots on this monarch butterfly. Then I'll put a few more critters in this painting.